You guys are here for the official announcement where I'm recording it and putting it on YouTube and everything about Anypoint Speedway Season 4. Had a lot of help this time with Season 4. If we scroll down, I'll show you the past seasons, and we have some of the past seasons people here. This is so in Season 1. I don't see Ryan Carter's not here. Alex isn't here. So all of these people, I did see Samuel Gomez show up in one of our lists, but I haven't seen him here recently. That was Season 1. Season 2, we do have. Nope, none of these are here either in this today's meeting. But this is the winners of Season 2. Season 3 just ended, and for a long time, Tone Deaf was on the leaderboard, and Tone Deaf is here. But in the last couple of months of the Season 3, you got passed. So now I don't know if any of the top people on the leaderboard want to announce themselves and take a bow. Do you want to? Because we have handles, you don't have real people's name on here.
There was one thing you mentioned, Ryan, when there were multiple tiers, and it would only give you. Or am I thinking of something else where it would only tell you the score for the best tier that you reached?
Yeah, the tier 4, all the tier 4 scores beat all the tier 3 scores in Season 3. That's done, and that's not going to be in Season 4. Season 3, we had tiers, and if you reach a higher tier, you pass all the people from the last tier.
But you might have saw that. Let's say I had a tier 1 score, and you're like, "Wow, that's for tier 1." I mean, you blew everyone out of the water.
Yeah.
But you'll never know that because it'll never show up.
Well, you might be able to know that. I will have to admit, some of the web developers of the anypointspeedway.com site are in the room. So we could put in feature requests. The data is all still there for the past seasons. So we may be able to get some credit for the past seasons posted for sure. I think that would be fun anyway. So it's time to talk about Season 3, and let's see if we talk what Season 3 is. I got really interested this last year when I went to Dreamforce, and a little bit later in a open source Mule project called the MuleSoft AI chain. And so I decided to start playing with it for the Speedway and for you guys. And we now have Season 4 launched with AI chain challenges. So you can go use the AI chain to try to race in the race. So this season, we've kind of enhanced the web interface. If you go to join race, you're going to see a how to participate page. And something new this season is you can put your client ID and secret in right on the website. You don't have to go to Postman to race anymore. All the last seasons. So for those who are just starting in Season 4, all the people who are on these leaderboards from Seasons 1, 2, and 3, they had to use some pretty technical tools to race. They had to use Postman and MuleSoft, and they're all this like pretty, kind of low-level tech tools to win these races in all these different seasons. In Season 4, you just click on this participate link at the top, and you put in a client ID and a secret. So I know all of you are those in the room with me are pretty experienced with MuleSoft. Where do you think you get a client ID and secret?
Exchange?
From Exchange, and not just any exchange, the Anypoint Race Exchange. Right. That's still the same one as before. So
all right, bring that up in the tab. Let's see that.
I'm going to do that. And if you have a client ID and secret from a prior season, we have some things coming up where you probably want to use the one you already had before because you're going to get badges and stuff that new ones won't get because you are a veteran. Okay, so I'm inviting all veterans to use your old client IDs and secrets. So I'm going to click this link here. Click here. I'm going to pull it up in a tab. This is the Anypoint Speedway Season 4. And you'll notice there's a big login link at the top right. So you see there's a request access button here, but you can't push it. Right? In order to push it, you got to log in. So I'm actually going to register a brand new account like a brand new user would do. And we're going to sign up for Season 4. And I'm encouraging all of you who are watching this in here right now, go ahead and do it. Anypointspeedway.com, click on the link, get a racer ID. We will be able to look in the database and see you afterwards. Or if you already have one, reuse your same one. So you're going to press login. You're always going to press sign in with Anypoint platform. Nobody's got SSO but me. So you want to click the MuleSoft sign in at the bottom. And if you do have a login already for Anypoint Speedway, use that. If you don't, you can press the sign up link at the bottom. So I'm going to go through this like a brand new person, right? I'll put my name. Now we have some rules. Anybody who worked on the Anypoint Speedway, we're not allowed to race, and I'm deleting our data out of the. So you will not be able to race against me because it's not fair for me to race. But I'm going to sign up here just to show you how to do it. But you will never see my stuff on the leaderboard, right? So here, I am the Anypoint Speedway proprietor. There we go. In the United States. I live in Oklahoma. There we go. Integration quest. We don't have that many employees yet, but give us some time. I don't know if I want to give everybody my phone number. It just did anyway, right? On this, okay, so Arhaig Speedway Racer. You can make whatever name up you want, but you can only get each username once on Anypoint platform. So I'm gonna make up a password here. I'm definitely not a robot, but I'm gonna make a robot. And you're gonna make a robot if you race with me. I think that's a motorcycle behind that tree. What do you think? That's not. That's definitely 4 wheels. I'm gonna do that one. Nope, got it wrong. All right, now we need bicycles. You, and you. All right. Did that work? Or do I have to hit this again? Are they kidding? All right, do it again. Oh, invalid password. Okay.
Wow, so it's checking passwords against commonly used passwords database.
That was embarrassing. I just failed the cybersecurity check. It seems like it certainly.
Did you use password 1234, bro?
There's when I used to get Anypoint accounts from MuleSoft, they would all have a certain password that MuleSoft would give us. So that was in my head. I used the old one, but they didn't accept it. So now you'll see I'm logged in. I got this little square at the top, and the request access button is lit up. So when we're going to get a client ID in secret, you have to request access. And this is going to get you what's called a client application in Anypoint Exchange. And you can have more than one if you want to do more than one racer. Hey, we have leaderboards. I don't know. So I'm going to hit request access. Now, what am I going to request access to? There's only one thing you can pick. This V4 production thing. So you're going to pick that. And if you already have an application, again, you might want to use one you already had. Otherwise, you have to create a new one. So we're going to create a new one here. And this is my demo Speedway Racer. Ryan at IQ, right? And I'm going to hit create. And then what I'm going to get back is a client ID and a client secret when I'm done. Now, there's only one SLA tier approved for you guys, and that's the compete one. So you want to hit compete, and it kind of gives you how much your racer is allowed to do every day. Right. So we're going to hit request access, and you guys just got my client ID and secret, which again, go ahead and use it if you want. You can't be on the leaderboard for that one. So I'm going to take this client ID and I'm going to enter it under my client credentials here. And I'm going to take this client secret. I'm going to enter that here, and I'm going to press submit. And suddenly I'm going to be entering some racer details. This is what's going to show up on the leaderboard itself if your racer actually works. You're going to notice it takes 3 values, not 2 values. And so one of them is pretty easy, right? You can make up whatever you want for this one. I can be Ryan Racer, whatever I want to be, right? And I can give my email address here. What I don't know what to put in here is this API URL, okay? And this time it doesn't give me a link to follow. So what you're going to do when you get to that step is you're going to go open the instructions in a new tab. So I went to the top, there's an instructions, open a new tab and see what the instructions say. And it kind of tells you how to participate in the race. This is an AI race. So what we're going to do first is we're going to have to go make a racer API. And that's where the API URL on this screen has to contain, is the link. So in order to participate in the race, you have to make an API on the internet somewhere that the Speedway can reach you. And you deploy it, and then the Speedway is going to call your API, and that's how you're going to participate in the race. Okay. So I guess we can do that together. I'm going to follow this get request link here. And this is the API that you have to write. You have to make one. You're going to make a racer API. This is the same thing, so those of you who participated in last seasons, you already had to do that before. This is a new version of it. And your racer API has to have a health endpoint. It's going to have a little health check. Just has to say, okay. You're not going to get anywhere if you don't make that work. You have to have a health check that works. Otherwise, your racer won't be allowed to race. Just to get on the track, you have to have some health check. And then the very first thing you have to implement a few endpoints here. You're going to have to make a get endpoint for your name. You're going to have to make a post endpoint for a Formula One question and a post endpoint for bias detection articles. So this race is testing you on using some AI technology in your Mule applications. So the first couple are pretty simple. They are, pretty simple interface. Maybe not. I don't know if it's that simple to implement. That's why it's a race, right? We'll do the speak racer name first. You're going to have to make an API endpoint that responds with media type audio MP3. Your API isn't going to give me text back. Your API is going to give me audio. And it needs to be your racer name. So in my case, that would be Ryan Racer. So my API has to make a Ryan Racer. So I think I'm going to do that in front of you guys, but I guess I'm going to let you guys ask questions first. And then once you've got that done, your API will be qualified for the race. So I guess what I could do is I could just start building this API. Anybody have any questions about the race itself, about what it takes to compete?
One of the questions I had was, in addition to what you've shown so far, like what are the specifications of this API? What do we need to do? But I think you're going to show us that.
I'm going to make one, but you are free. You don't have to use MuleSoft. I made this race as a way to write real fun MuleSoft code. So you definitely can do this with MuleSoft. If you don't know what to choose to race, go ahead and use MuleSoft. But if you want to go get crazy and use something else, okay, you go make it in whatever you want, and that's allowed. It's all the race. You just have to make an API that looks like this, and then deploy it on the internet. That's it. And then the API is going to be tested on a repeated basis by the race. And if your API does a good job, then you will get points.
So I'm curious. I have a question. Is there any significance to the audio for your racer name? For example, you said you're Ryan Racer.
Yeah.
If the audio that you send is not actually saying Ryan Racer, will this work? Is there voice recognition that is going to happen? Oh, okay. Yeah. So it is significant that you speak your name and not just any gobbledygook.
Exactly. And we're going to pass that one today on this call. I'm going to do that and show you how to do it.
Are you going to use text to speech or?
Well, first I'm just going to do it with a microphone.
Okay, your own voice.
And then I'm going to use text to speech because that's the fun part, right? It's more fun with text to speech than just recording your own voice, right? Maybe I'll even skip the microphone, but you totally could pass it with a microphone if you wanted, because it just has to say whatever this says here, right? So let's go make one. Let's get started. So what I'm going to do is make a Mule application, and this time I'm not going to use API Kit because this is not an API Kit race. Right, I'm just going to make a from scratch Mule application, new Mule project, any Speedway Racer Season 4, brand new app. I'll use 4.9, and I will not hit scaffold flows because I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use a plain old HTTP connector this time. So why don't we just make a listener? And this is going to be the health flow, right? And we're going to make it get/health.
Hey, Ryan, is there a name to describe this bottom-up approach where you do the implementation implementation first, and then you retroactively create an API specification that matches the implementation? Is that like a bottom up or maybe a contract last sort of approach?
It's not API led, and I'm not planning to make so there is an API specification already here. So if I wanted to use it in my code, I could download the RAML here. I don't know how I can, how can you download the RAML? Yeah, I would need to download the RAML for this API, and I'm not seeing a way to do it. So you see what I'm saying? So I could go make
I think you have to do it from the main screen, like you're already in a particular API. Maybe if you go back to where you select it from.
Well, because it's the public portal. I don't know if it's
Oh, it's a public portal. Oh yeah, that works differently, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I think, oh, here it is. Download. Here we go. Download as RAML, right? So we could implement it from the RAML. You want to do that? We could do that. That's the more API led way to do it, right? So I'll take this RAML, put it in my downloads, and then the way you can put that in the project, isn't there like a source main resources API folder? So I can just go put it in there. Yeah, okay, let's do that. Let's do that. So I'll delete my health flow. I like your idea. So I would need my downloads folder. And Racer API. All right. So I guess I'm going to need to put all this stuff in there. So I guess I just do like this, right? Drag all three. I don't need the exchange.json though. I think I just need these two, right? I'll put them in there. Copy. There we go. So now I've got the RAML in here. And I can go back to my application. And how do you scaffold a new API from this? Let's see, Mule. See, I'm learning on the job here.
You know, it's funny, in my Anypoint Studio, I get two Mule places on the menu. The one that you just went over, which is where you should go to, by the way. And I had a second one, but also had the option to, oh, wait a minute, where is the option? You should be seeing something that says
I'm used
scaffold
to
from, yeah, scaffold from local RAML.
You know what I might have to do is just delete it from the beginning and generate it?
No, you should be able to do that.
I think so too.
Yeah. What version of Studio are you running?
I think this is like the latest 721.
Oh, okay. You're not running 716, huh?
Is your API in there yet?
Yeah, I'm not putting it in Exchange though. I just dropped it in the project. And I know some people follow this workflow. I just don't.
So when you go to Mule, what were the options again when you went to Mule? There it is. Generate. Yeah, I don't know. It was just
from
not
local
recognized.
REST API. Okay, good. So I'll do that. Okay, so it found it. All right, so now we've got the main flow and we've got the console, and here's all my flows. So
oh, delete that console.
Yeah, it costs you a flow, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't mind it. And we have a bunch of empty flows. So why don't I actually just start here though? I can export this right now and deploy it, right? And we'll see what it does, because then at least I'll have a URL. Remember what the goal is. We're trying to fill out our racer details, right? So I need a URL. So what I'll do is I will go in anypoint.mulesoft.com. Let me sign out of my old account. And I guess if I log in as this one, this new one I just made, I wonder if it's going to have a, it says integration quest. Will it have a license? I just want to see, since I signed up through that first screen. All right, so I've got a month anyway. And that's the thing. When you sign up for a trial account, you get a month. And in this race, it's going to matter because your racer earns points every day once you deploy it. That's what's different about this race. It's not the fastest time. This is a marathon, not a sprint in this race. The longer your racer runs, the more points you're going to get.
Does that give then an advantage to early adopters or early participants?
It does. Now, there's ways later participants have. So I'm going to show you a couple of things, but I'll just give a kind of a clue there. Right now, we have only 3 challenges here, and only 2 of these challenges will earn you points. The bottom 2, and each. Oh, Coy, and can you fix the document? These are in reverse order. This is the first challenge. This is the second challenge. We're going to fix the documentation there. So bias detection gets you the smallest amount of points. Voice assistant gets you a little more points. And then we may be introducing new challenges during season 3 that would get, so newer challenges might be worth more points later, right? So it gives some way that newer players have a chance, but if you stay with it and when new challenges come out, you implement them, you'll never get past. So, if starting at the beginning, it is possible to be unbeatable if you start at the beginning and you stay with it. But you will have to code some more later to get the later challenges. So we're going to start with challenge 0, check name. Okay. And first we need a URL. So I'm going to go in Runtime Manager and deploy the application. Can I just do it from Studio? I bet I can. Do I want to show that?
I believe you can.
Yeah, but do I want to teach people that? Oh, well. This is not the way I ever do it at work. I'm not. I'm exporting it. I'm doing what I usually do.
But you could get extra points with MuleSoft for teaching.
I sure probably could. So I'm going to put this in my downloads folder. And this is Speedway Racer Season 4. And I didn't change any code, right? All I did was generate the API. That's it. But this is the bare bones minimum to get into the race, right? So we're going to go to our sandbox environment.
Actually, MuleSoft might prefer you teach this inside of Anypoint Code Builder.
I bet they would. I need to learn Anypoint Code Builder. I'm just not comfortable yet. So this is the study group racer. And I like some of Code Builder. Some of it's cool. So I just have to get practice with it. At this point, I can't blame it on features anymore. It's me not doing it at this point. So here we go. We're deploying an application, and we're quickly going to get a URL from CloudHub. Well, I said quickly. That was like, I was hoping it was going to be quickly. Good, here we go. So we got a URL here. There's my racer. Now my racer is going to be at the /API, right? Here. So I'm going to take this URL here, but I'm going to notice something. First, if I just paste it like this is going to be a problem. Right? I'm going to press save, and we're going to see what happens next. Connection health, it failed because it's not up yet, right? Now, if I go in Anypoint Studio, I'm going to show you kind of the first mistake you could make, which is to paste just like I did. The listener, when you use API Kit, uses /API first. So my racer should have a /API on there, right? Now let's let it finish deploying, and we're going to see what happens here, right? If you do have a connection health failure, the only way out is to refresh the whole page, or you could hit this little pencil, and that'll allow you to re-update your API. You don't have to change anything. You can just press save, and it'll try again. So let's let this deploy into CloudHub 2. Looks like it's almost there.
Is this another case where it matters how many cores you devote to?
I think depends how you implement the later challenges. This isn't a latency challenge. The last season 3 was a latency challenge, and so your vertical scaling made a huge difference, right? This one is more of a functionality thing. So only if your implementation needs the juice, you know what I mean? To win. So it's actually definitely a slow boot up because I picked the smallest one, right? If I would have picked a bigger one, it would start up faster, right? What did I pick? 0.1 vCores. Yeah, that's the smallest one.
Yeah, I recommend if you're using a trial account, make this be the only application. That way you can give it the full contingent of whatever it is. 1 core, I think you get with the trial.
Yeah, I think you can take the full core. Okay. That's a different error. No listener for endpoint slash. Right, because there's not a listener for endpoint slash, is there? And we could even go in here and look at my logs. That'll eventually pop up in the logs. Anyway, let's actually fix the URL so it's proper. It has the /API. Okay, connection health is green, and now you get this little switch to enter the race. So you might want to implement some code before pushing this button, because if you just do what I did, it's going to fail on the speak your name step and turn you back off again.
Now, once you enter the race, is there any reasons that you can think of where you might want to take a pit stop, I guess, and remove yourself from the race?
Yes. You want to see? I want to show you one of the reasons. Platform. So I used OpenAI API the first time I was testing the race. And there's this great screen in here. Usage. I'm going to put it in dollars. And look at my total spend. You see those first 2 days? That was $36 and $37. Good reason to turn it off, right?
Also, good reason to use the free trial account.
Yes, exactly. So if you implement your racer in a way that spends a lot of money, you probably do want to come back here and turn it back off again until you optimize your code not to spend so much money. Right. So that would be my recommendation, is use this switch if you need me to stop calling your API so much, so you can go make whatever enhancements you want to make. And that's as big of a hint you're going to get there. But anyway, it's not going to pass. And if you click this racer validation, it tells you what's going on. And that wasn't what I expected it to say. So we're going to improve our error handling there. This should say, well, let's go see what happened in here. What I know happened is I didn't implement anything for checking my name, right? So the health is okay, but this one just logs something, right? It doesn't. So I'm returning nothing. I'm returning no data, right? Now, see, I included in the API examples this little max echo MP3 file. So since we included that, I'll just use it here. If we just do I don't know, how about like a set payload? Or no, I'll just use a transform message. And we just take that sample file and we return an audio MP3 instead. Actually, I have to use set payload because set payload lets me set the MIME type. So I'm going to use set payload. You can tell I've been testing this a bit. We're going to set payload to wrong audio, right? And I'm going to use read URL, and that's going to be class path API/examples max echo.mp3, right? And that's going to be the new payload. Now remember, this API requires you to use, and I'll show you on the documentation, the voice name endpoint requires you to return audio MP3. So I need to make Mule do that. So I'm going to put audio MP3 in the MIME type on the set payload.
Hey, do we get to hear what that recording sounds like before you?
Why, yes. You want to hear it now? Let's see. Open with, I'll do it like this. I like VLC for testing audio stuff.
Max the Code Whisperer.
So, not Ryan Racer. Did the audio come through?
Yes.
Yes, it came through beautifully, actually.
Good. So we're going to send that back and redeploy our application. Here we go. There we are. And when we go to our Cloud Hub application, we can now upload the new file. And when you're working on the challenge, you'll probably find yourself doing that a bunch of times. Make an improvement, upload, make an improvement, upload, because it is needed. The race has to reach you, has to be able to reach your racer. So it's pretty hard to use local development. It is not impossible. I can give kudos to Alex Martinez. In one of her Twitch streams last year, she introduced me to a cool tool called ngrok that I think lets you run an app on your local laptop and have a URL on the internet. So you may be able to do local development with ngrok and get.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing something like that. Maybe it was ngrok. It looked like I think the logo looked like a paper airplane or something like that. And yeah, it allowed you to expose your laptop
To the
internet. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just deployed this one though, to Cloud Hub. But yeah, if you wanted to build locally and get it working, that's another option. And then we get to wait for Cloud Hub. So it's launch day. I've already picked up a couple of little improvements we're going to make. But
I thought you were going to say you picked up a couple of endorsements. I was going to say, oh, that's
there's
impressive.
sponsorships. Brown University, as a matter of fact. So looking forward to the check.
You're going to be waiting a long time, Ryan.
Yeah. Since we have a Formula One racing theme, I can tell you we can definitely replace this HP logo with anybody who wants to.
Oh, that's a good point, Ryan. I mean, and you got Ray-Ban in there. Looks like Shell. When you use an image like this, whether it's stock Getty or what, are you still kind of bound to the?
I don't know.
I see Amazon Web Services in there as well.
If I get a cease and desist, you're
Santander.
going to see some blur in the image.
Yeah, I think that's what you're going to have to do is blur some of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, if they make me, I mean, hey, they're getting free advertising. Maybe if they like the product, But this is a community project. I wasn't too. I'm not making any money on it. I'm spending. You saw how much I was spending.
Yeah, I don't see this as a for-profit thing. I guess usually the lawyers only get involved if they need something to do to justify they're being paid on the payroll as lawyers. So then they look for people to bully. Yeah.
I don't know any of those lawyers, and I don't know if I'd like to. Maybe if to defend me, they could come over here and have a fight. But are we booted? No, it still says desired. You can always tell on Cloud Hub 2 when the up-to-date one. See, it says last successful. That was cool. We got to watch it go. That means we're good. So now I can go back to participate. It remembers my client ID and secret. I can press submit. The API is still the same, so I'll press save. Connection health is okay. And let's see what happens with speak your name. It's taking longer this time. Oh, it didn't say anything because I didn't push the button. Ready? Go.
You're going to have another endpoint speak your mind with a longer audio clip.
Oh, this gave another error. So we try to give you back the error we get. It looks like we got a 500. Aha, this is useful. We can, and you can, by the way, Tony, you can speak anything you want. It'll play what it gets here, but it didn't get anything because my API gave back a 500 error. Okay, so let's go see what happened in my API and why. Oh, because I had a bad data weave. That says it's not, basically it's saying it's not JSON because it's not JSON, right? So it's not application DW. You can see it right there. So what I should have done is my read URL needs to be modified to use, and I can't put audio MP3 because DataWeave doesn't have a format for that. So I have to use application
octet stream. Yep.
And then the fact that I'm using the MIME type will make it say that it's audio MP3, which is good enough. So now I'll do a third deployment. I'll show that change in case anybody's, I know you can pause the video because if you log back into Integration Quest, these videos are all on here for the study group. Even so, let me pull, it's hard to pause when I only hold it. So this is what I did, and I'll leave it up for a lot longer. That way you can hit the pause button. All right, good. And we're going to redeploy again. And while we're redeploying, we can go look at the leaderboard. So what's going to happen if I ever get this one to work is I'm going to get a point. What's a point?
Well, you can get a point, Ryan, but you can't get on the leaderboard, you said.
I will get on the leaderboard right here on the video, and then after this session, I'm going to have to go delete myself off.
Oh, okay. That's how it's going
to
work.
We're going to do it. All right. So, yeah, we have a test environment I could be on the leaderboard on. And crazily enough, I don't think you can get a client ID in secret. Anybody can find your way to the test environment if you're crafty, but I did not leave it where you could get a client ID in secret of your own in the test environment. So, oh, I hit the button 3 times. I'll stop hitting buttons now. So we'll let that boot itself up. Let's see if we've got the leaderboard cleared. Ready? Oh, thank you, gentlemen. Okay. What is this? Since when did this happen? Okay, so the leaderboard, you can see there's an overall leaderboard, there's a bias detection leaderboard, and there's a voice assistant leaderboard. So you can see your performance. Hold on a second. Ooh. You can see your performance independently for the different seasons, for the whole season, for the current week, or just today. And especially when people get started, it's pretty exciting to get to the top of the daily leaderboard, even if there's somebody else you might be ahead of whoever's on the season leaderboard. So nobody's on here now because the season is just launching. This may be the last time anybody sees an empty leaderboard. I hope. So let's go see what happened with the. Okay, it's booting up still. I can turn on some Jeopardy music. Or one of you can hum. I know you're all mute.
Tony, I need your help.
Well, I did find online a mashup. It's short little clip, a mashup of I'm a Little Teapot and the Jeopardy theme together. It's pretty good.
Oh my gosh, you need to play that.
A link. I will play it on the stream if you put a link.
Now I got to go look for it. Hold on.
Last successful. We're here. Okay. Let's see what happens. I'm going to participate, submit, and save. Connection health is good. And racing. Oh, it failed. Now this time it says expected racer name to match Ryan Racer, but spoken racer name from API was not Ryan Racer. Right? So
yeah, look at that. It got it right. Maxed the code whisperer.
Yeah, and I don't know about this. We may be increasing. We're experimenting with what the threshold's going to be here. So let me hit. But you can always do is listen and see if our voice recognition did okay, right? I can hit. So you can always hear what your API is returning by hitting this little play button.
Yeah, that one didn't come through though.
Oh, you can't hear it?
No.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I wonder why audio doesn't come from. Okay.
Next time you do the Jeopardy, I just gave you a link, so now you have it.
Good. Well, we can fix it. We can make it do Ryan Racer. So we will need to do Jeopardy again. So let's use the actual Mac project. Okay. So the Mac project, it has a connector that's good for making audio. Now, of course, you could just, if you wanted to just get the API working, you could just, if you have a Mac, I don't know, Windows has something similar. You can always open QuickTime Player and record an audio recording and just use your voice to record it. But that's no fun. Let's let a computer do it, huh? So in the Mac project, in the MuleSoft AI chain project, there are a number of different connectors. And as season 4 progresses, you may find more than one of these connectors to come in handy, right? For now, I wanted to point out the Whisperer connector. There was a clue in the Max the Code Whisperer name, right? The Whisperer connector is a speech-to-text and text-to-speech connector for Mule. It's open source, and you can just use it. So we're going to go to the Getting Started page, and we are going to use the dependency that's right here on the Getting Started page. There's a little video on how to use it. I'm going to copy the dependency, and I'm going to go into my project, pom.xml file. So this is where you put dependencies. I went to the bottom of my Speedway Racer project to the pom.xml file, and we're going to just add a dependency. Ooh, that's ugly. I'm going to make it, I just can't help it. I have to tab my code, make it look reasonable and save. And you're going to know that this works if you see Mac Whisperer appear in your package explorer.
Do you have Control-Shift-F mapped into your studio?
Let's see. You want me to? There you go. Control-Shift-F. Oh, that would have been so much better. You guys catch that tip? I had the code looking like this, and Tony gave me a tip. He said Control-Shift-F. Now on the Mac, it's Command-Shift-F, and it just fixed it. Thank you.
Correct. You're right. It's a little different on the Mac with the keys, right?
Mm-hmm. No, that was way better though. So instead of a set payload, we're going to use the Mac Whisperer to do speech to text. So if you want to, you think it's going to be quick. There's a few steps to it, because you either have to set up a local Whisper C++ project, which isn't going to work too well in CloudHub, or you're going to have to use an API. So we're going to bring speech to text in here, and we're going to need to use a module configuration. So I'm going to press plus, and we're going to add a Mac Whisperer config. Now, it needs an API key. The old version of so Mac Whisperer is going to have a new release soon. It has not had one yet. But at this point, the only API it supports is OpenAI. So in order to use this one, you're going to have an OpenAI API key. And I'll just go through how I got that. So let's just make another window here. And I'm actually going to log out of my business OpenAI, because a lot of you who are racing are just going to use your own anyway, right? So I'm going to log in to my personal OpenAI. So boom. There we go. So I'm logged into OpenAI here, and once I get in, I don't know how to navigate. I have to go, is it under settings? It is not. For some reason, I don't know how to get there from the main screen, but I just know if I go to the top of the screen and I go to platform.openai.com instead of ChatGPT, this is where I can get my API keys. Oops, and now I'm still logged in with the wrong account. Let's try this again. So we're going to log in as a personal account to platform.openai.com, and you'll see there is a dashboard, and on the dashboard there is an API keys screen. Got a couple on here. Looks like I did something in November. So I'm going to make a new secret key, and this is study group Speedway, and create a secret key, copy it, and then I can go right here in my project and paste it under the API key. So that's the OpenAI way to do it. Now, during season 4, pretty soon, the Whisper connector is going to come out with new versions, and it will support other vendors besides just OpenAI. So if you want to try, I think probably Gemini is going to be supported, or Hugging Face. So there's a lot of different platforms that do AI APIs on the internet. The intention of the MuleSoft AI Chain project is an open source community that I hope you get involved with. It's to support many different vendors for all of these different API features, AI features, and Whisper's also going to be continuing to expand and support more of them. But right now, it's a 0.2.0 and it supports 1, and that's OpenAI. So you have to have that one. Now, the 0.2.0 connector is one where it writes a file out. The next version of the connector will work differently. So you want to read the documentation for the version that you're using. Almost everybody watching this video will have to use a future version because this one requires file access. So I'm going to write a file to /temp, which is available on CloudHub, /spoken name.mp3. Okay. And the text I want to write, what is it? The payload? I think it has to be the payload. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, I think the text is the payload. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to write a file, and then I'm going to read a file. And you won't have to do that in the future versions of the connector. So I'm going to start with a transform message, and I'm going to use output text plain. I think this is how it has to work. You think I would have rehearsed this before the launch event? Here we go. We're going to put Ryan Racer in here.
Rehearsing is underrated. It's more fun.
We're doing it live because I'm used to the new version of the connector where you don't have to do an audio file. But anyway, that's because I'm using GitHub instead of the released one. So we're going to go speech to I don't want to go speech to text, do I? I want to do text to speech, right? So that's better. No wonder I made the first mistake already. So we're going to do text to speech, Ryan Racer, and put that in speech to convert, right? And we still have to use the output file here. So this will be racer name.mp3. And again, the new version of the connector won't need that. And I'll have all these different voices to choose from. So you guys get to pick. What voice are we going to use?
Is this just a random pick, or can we like sample like you do with ringtone to get a sense of what they all are and pick one?
Okay, let's have fun. Where do I have them? Max, Echo. I just have to see where they are. Where's the location of that? I think I had them. Are they in my downloads? Or there's a few of them. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I've got them right here. All right, you want to go through the list? All right, here's Alloy. This is the Alloy.
Max the Code Whisperer.
Okay. This is Echo. Now, I think there's more than just these now. There's more than just these. But we're going to do these 6. We're going to do Echo.
Max the Code Whisperer.
We'll do Fable.
Max the Code Whisperer.
Ooh.
We'll do Nova.
Max the Code Whisperer.
Yeah.
We'll do Onyx.
Max the Code Whisperer.
And then we'll do Shimmer.
Max the Code Whisperer.
So
For me, it's between either Echo, because that one sounded kind of badass, or Nova.
Echo or Nova, what do you guys think?
I like the Echo. I think, well, because it's Max. If it were Maxine, yeah.
Max the Code Whisperer.
Yeah.
What do y'all think? Coy, Genevieve, Shana, Shayna. Thank you, Ryan. Shayna. I was waiting. I was wondering, did I get it right this time?
All right, we're gonna go with Echo.
Echo, Echo.
All right, so let's change it from Alloy to Echo. And there's a couple of models. I have not spent the HD is a little bit more money per transaction, and I don't care for a spoken name about if you were generating like customer service stuff, maybe you want high quality audio. I mean, I'm not. So this is not for like money. So I use the low model. You can also make it really fast or really slow and experiment with that. Do not mess with the audio format because I didn't make the Speedway support all of these. The connector does. The Speedway is not interested in all the Speedway only does MP3. So that's what you get. So we're going to generate the text to speech to the file that's the file name, right? And then because this is 0.2.0 of the connector, I'm going to have to read the file after it's done so that we have an output. And we're going to read it in audio MP3 MIME type. Remember, that's important, the MIME type. You will all, I made that mistake so many times leaving this blank. Don't leave the MIME type blank. And we're going to read that file path. And this is going to be the Whisperer name. Here we go. And I think that's it. Now, I'm going to, before I deploy it, I'm actually going to run this here and see if it works this time. And Tony, this is why I didn't delete the console, because when I run locally, it's a quick way to test. That's the only reason I keep it. See, I can just hit open console and run that.
Oh, so you do actually find some utility.
Just for local testing. Oh, never mind. It didn't matter. Not this time, because okay, I can save to file. Good. What's cool is Postman sometimes will give you pictures and audio and stuff. So this is going to be responsebody.mp3.
Yeah, Postman will what? Is it preview enabled or something?
Yeah. All right, here we go. Let's see what came out. Oh, 20. Nothing came out. Huh. Let's see what happened in my API. Speech synthesis succeeded. Okay. Let's do this. Let's put a logger at the end. All right. We have, actually, I'll put 2 loggers because I don't know why that didn't work. So generated speech and another logger read the file. There we go. Save. I'm glad I didn't deploy with the Jeopardy music. All right. And I don't actually, at this point, I'm wondering about the console. So let's do like that. And send. Okay, look how Postman is so much. I'm sorry. That's better. Ready?
Ryan Rager.
Ooh,
Ryan Rager.
that's not going to pass, is it?
Ryan Rager.
Can you hear it?
Sounded like Ryan Rate.
That's weird. Why
Where
did
did I put? Huh. It says Ryan Racer.
Did it cut off? Maybe you're only paid for a few letters.
I don't know. I'm going to slow it
Oh.
down 0.8, and I'm going to go to the high density, high definition, and see if that makes a difference.
Yeah, maybe speed makes a difference too.
It's a good thing I'm testing locally, and I'm definitely using Postman. After I saw I could play the audio right in it.
Delete the console.
Okay.
you don't use the console?
Not this time. I'm mad at it now.
No, I never do. I never do.
Really?
Well, you got to understand, I've been doing this for a long time, and it used to be really buggy, so I was kind of jaded.
Ah,
So it says generated speech and read the file. Okay.
Ryan Racer.
Now, do you think it was the speed or you think it was the model I chose?
Try again. Go back to the old speed
Yeah.
and see if that makes a difference.
do a controlled experiment.
Yeah, controlled experiment. So we'll use we'll keep the low speed. Wait, we're going to keep 0. Okay, we'll go back to 1.0 speed, but keep the high definition model. Okay. And then we can switch them and try both.
Ryan Racer.
Okay, it's probably the model, but let's see, and let's do the final. You have to do all the combinations. So TTS1 0.8 is the last combination.
So you're testing all combinations of models and speeds?
Models, well, yeah, the 2 models and the 2 speeds. So
So
that's
it's a
4
permutation, 4 permutations, yeah.
combinations, I think, because I'm not doing sequence.
Ryan Racer.
Okay. So the only one that didn't work was 1.0 and the TTS1 model, right? All the other combinations worked, right? Well, TTS1 is cheaper, so I'd rather keep the cheaper model, right? Can we prove it? I'm going to do another 1.0 and see if we get the problem back. Isn't that weird? Because it worked, right? We got racer every time. That's what I get. I took a internship or a science fair experiment in 9th grade with a biologist, and he was so meticulous about having graph paper and having all the observations be written out before you move on to the next one. I should have done that here. I can remember Dr. Devine's face. He was.
Did you do Olympic scoring where you throw out the best score and the worst score?
Yeah, outliers had to go.
Ryan Racer.
Okay.
So it was a fluke.
Well, let's do it again.
Ryan Racer. Ryan Racer.
It does sound different every time.
Ryan Racer. Ryan. Ryan.
Oh, all right. That time it just, yeah.
Chopped off the whole end of it. Yeah. Now, with the Whisper connector, OpenAI allows you to pass in a fine-tuning prompt. Do they? Apparently not with this version of the connector. Okay. Well, so never mind. I take that back. Until you get
What is the slowest speed you think you can use that still gives recognizable results?
Let's do 0.4 and see. Let's have fun with it. I'm going to deploy this thing. All right.
Ryan Race.
That's great. That's after a few
Ryan
years.
Racer.
So you could probably get it down to where it can only get out rye.
Ryan Racer.
It sounds drunk.
It does. That is
All right,
hilarious.
we're deploying the drunk one because that's how we roll. Here we go.
Well, you know, those drinks catch up to you, you know?
Yeah, it's true.
So let's go see what happens, and then we'll need the Jeopardy music. And actually, I do want to talk this. You only get 1 point every time this works anyway, which is hardly anything. So, and you have to push the button over and over again. So let's get it deployed. Because we are almost, I don't like going more than 90 minutes on one of these study groups. So that gives any of you who are checking your watch trying to decide about lunch break, we won't be here longer than another 23 minutes max if I go that long.
I apologize if I've made this turn into like a Howard Stern podcast.
I think it's fun.
Oh,
And
you're contributing. Document that.
On my carpool on the way into high school, they would play the Howard Stern radio show, and I was far too young to be listening to that. The radio show, not the podcast. That's how old I am.
Hence, it's made you the man you are today.
I hope not. So we'll let that deploy, and let's go back and look now at challenge number. Let me hit refresh here. Did you guys get that deployed? No, okay. Well, after this session, this one is going to show as the first challenge, right? Because it is the first one that comes after speaking your name. See, bias detection. So what's going to happen is your racer is going to receive 5 news articles about Formula One racing. And then you have to pick which one of them is biased. And you have to figure out, okay, I'll show you on the Racer API, not only which one's biased. Here's what it's going to get some JSON. Which one is biased and which kind of bias it is and what the bias is about. So in this case, one of the articles was saying somebody lost a Formula One race because he was eating too much chocolate, which is probably not why he lost the race, right? But anyway, the journalist must have been biased against chocolate eaters. So
if I had another one that was like, you know, MuleSoft is better than any of the competition, that would be bias, right?
Well, if you set it for in a very, you can make a unbiased article that makes the case that MuleSoft is better. But if MuleSoft is better because Boomi uses purple in their technical documentation, that's probably a silly reason for me. Your bias is going to show in your writing. You know what I mean? So if you read these articles, this is a full
So
example.
the AI is able to judge that this is not a factual a case for being the best, but it's a silly case. It can actually make that.
It's supposed to detect, because the way the article's written is more than just that it's silly. It's also that the language has been, I use generative AI to generate the articles, and I told it to be very, very biased when it generates them. So,
so it should be able to recognize its own biases, right?
yes, exactly. And it's going to be like, if you read it as a human, if you read this whole article, you're going to, oh my gosh, like, it's not going to be a very subtle bias. It's going to be over the top bias against chocolate eaters. Now, I have a lot of different biases and a lot of different articles. And
No, just take an excerpt from The Art of the Deal and paste that in there.
There you go. Yeah. So you got to receive this and come back with the bias, and then you're going to get points if you are able to adjust or to identify what the bias is and which article out of the 5 is the biased one. I will say many of the articles I scraped from actual web pages. So there's some articles in there that are actual real articles, which might have bias in them, but it's going to be subtle, right?
Can you identify where you scraped it from so we can get a pre-idea of what the biases might be like?
There's a URL in the actual. Is there a URL? Maybe I'm wrong. Let's go look. I may not have. Oh, I didn't put attribution in here. The thing is, if I give you URLs, you can go see if it's a real article or not and rule them out. So I just give you the text. But there's about 60% of these are going to be actual articles, and then the other 40% are going to be like biased articles, and only
Well,
some
just
of those.
so you know, did any of them come from The Onion? I just want to know what
No, none of them came from. I can find. So the way I collected them was with the Mac project. There's a web crawler connector, and I used it to go point at the BBC and like ESPN and that kind of stuff. So, and then I used the vectors connector to go put all those articles in a vector database, and that would be another session when we get in there about what we did to make the back end of that work. Anyway, once you've got bias detection up to a certain score, your last challenge is going to be voice assistant. And that means your API needs to act like Siri or Alexa or Google or whatever. I'm going to send you an audio question like, what position did Mark Jenne finish in round 17 in 2000? And you have to answer it in a voice. Now, you're allowed to use real data for that. And that's what you're going to find hints about if you want to look at the hints. You can go find your own real data, but I don't make it that hard on you if you want to go. I give you a hint that says where the data is about who won what races in different years. But we're going to ask a voice question, and your API is expected to come back with a voice answer to these questions. And that's the most points. We've changed it so that one's the most points at the beginning of season 4. And then we'll see later in season 4. So here we go. We've started the race. Let's go back. And we're going to try to race again. Oh, my total score is 1. See that? Because it actually spoke my name. And I can hear it. But you can't hear it. It was very slow. Right? So when you set yours up, then it will be if you can pass the speak your name challenge, then your racer is entered in the race, and we will be attempting to get you to pass the bias detection challenge next every 5 minutes until you turn it off.
So, now I'm going to have to create a name that's really funny to hear when you have it speak it. Like we got to be creative on these names, Tony. Come on, you got some good ideas on these.
Well, we are planning. So if people are playing this, we are planning some interesting stuff with the leaderboard where maybe we could put a play button here. And then we can hear your funny name, right?
Well, you just reminded me, there was a prank that these folks used to do. You know how you could have the airport page people for you over
Yes,
the loudspeaker.
yes, yes.
So some folks would page 2 parties, and they would make them sound like, what would you call it? I guess foreign names, or names that they might not easily recognize that they're made up.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so they would have them, and they would do their best to phoneticize these things over the loudspeaker. But once you heard them phoneticized, of course, it was hilarious to hear what it was they were paging. You've probably seen similar pranks like on The Simpsons or other movies
Yep.
like that.
Yeah. Well, I haven't yet put content moderation on these names, but we do have all the AI tools we need to catch that kind of stuff if we have to.
Well, that would be the fun thing, seeing if you could come up with something that could escape detection.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
could make it. We could put penalties in. It's my speedway, but I haven't decided to do that.
Oh, yeah.
That's
You could put
interesting.
a yellow flag and you've been penalized.
Oh, like in international football with yellow cards and red cards.
Well, they do it on racers too, don't
Oh,
they?
do they? I don't
Yeah,
watch
you
racing.
can
I
be
didn't know that.
penalized, like following too closely or whatever. I
Yeah.
don't know. But
They
there are
follow-
racers.
What? They're supposed to follow really closely.
That's true.
Have you seen these races? I learned some interesting stuff about I never watched Formula One racing ever when I made this season, and now I might want to watch it. It's interesting. But
One of my students in my hyper automation class was telling me that you cannot drive these cars slow safely. They are configured and synchronized to run at 100 miles an hour, or if you're driving it slow, then the aerodynamics are not as good and it's lifted up. It needs that speed to suck it down. He was telling me all about it, and he's Formula One. I can't wait to tell him about this.
Oh, this is it. Yep.
Yeah. So it's really pretty interesting, because I told him if I drove a Formula One car, I'd go like 30 miles an hour, and he goes,
Well, then you
"Get
die.
all over the place." You couldn't drive it. It's worse. Anyway.
Well, so that's the challenge, and we're gonna take me off this leaderboard after this session. But I hope you guys participate. We've made it as little easier than previous years because we didn't need the postman anymore and stuff like that. So I hope, and you don't have to use MuleSoft, but I think the MuleSoft AI chain project is pretty fascinating. So I hope it gives you an excuse to get in there and get your hands on it and try using it for stuff.
We should use Mule. We're all about the mules.
I mean, I did, right?
All about the mules.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to come up with a cool name. Tony, what's your names? Think of your names. What would you come up with on the fly?
What sort of names? What's the purpose of this exercise?
Like like when we do the sound part of it, it's got to be something really funny.
Oh, funny names.
Yeah.
I see. Amusing names, like Richard O'Shea and things like that.
Yeah, we'll have to come up with some good ones.
The funny thing is I come up with them just randomly at times. I should write that one down. That one will be amusing to use for test data. But then, when I'm put on the spot to do it, it doesn't come as...
Yeah.
Oh, so I am not going to read these to you. I decided to go with ChatGPT, and I decided to put this in the chat. And this is my prompt. What are some innocent-looking names for Formula One racers that might sound like something risque if spoken aloud?
Wow, that's a well-written prompt there.
And I'm not reading the answers.
Oh, all right. It did very good job, huh?
It's just not
Share
bad.
the link. Then you can share the link in ChatGPT. Share.
But it's X-rated. It's really.
Oh, wow, really?
Better not be sharing that. Yeah.
A little
I
raunchy,
think
huh?
you'll be dinged for
One of them is number 3 is Will Racewell. That's not too bad.
real waste.
Okay.
Rick Shaw.
Rick Shaw, yeah, I can see that one being a little sensitive.
And then there's the one here that was it was Hugh, and his last name is Jass.
Oh, okay, Hugh. Yep.
You Jack?
Oh, you just got it now, did you?
Whoops.
What happened to our live stream here? Okay.
I know, really.
Like I said, I didn't want to turn this into a Howard Stern radio show.
Yeah.
We digress. We digress.
But anyway, now you guys have the prompt. So.
You know, there's one thing I was trying to find a clip to show you was you reminded me when you were talking about the cars, how hard it is or how dangerous it is or unsafe it is to try to drive them slow. And you made me think of something I wanted to show you a picture, but I'm having trouble finding it. There was this old cartoon by an animator named Tex Avery, and it was called The Car of Tomorrow.
Ooh.
And in one section of the segment, they were joking about this car's brakes were so sensitive. You just barely had to touch the brake to stop. And it showed a picture of a guy of like totally ripping through the hood after he touched the
You hear something?
yeah, it's hilarious, but I can't find it, unfortunately.
No, here's something explode over there.
Coy, you're unmuted.
Something fell on the car.
Coy.
Coy.
Something fell on the car. Yeah.
Coy.
Coy.
Can you mute him from your side, Ryan?
I cannot. Can I? Oh, I can. Looks
Just
like I
okay.
need to get better at managing the meeting. Something did happen outside where a loud noise happened and some car horns were going off. So that's probably what he was looking at.
Ah,
I teach class so much that I'm able to just not react when stuff like that happens. So, all right, guys. Well, I hope season 4 goes well, and we will hopefully get some racers on here and get some points on the board.
That's good. Earlier is better. Remember?
Yeah, because you get points every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it sounds like you could run away with this by being the first participant.
This
Well,
is true.
yeah, I mean we're gonna add challenge. We are gonna add challenges later in the season, and later challenges will be worth more points. But you have to have all the previous challenges before you get to participate in the later ones.
Well,
So-
the person who's running away with it can also participate in those and
Yes.
continue to run away with it. You know,
If they do, yeah. If somebody comes in ahead of you by a week, though, you gotta stay on top of it.
yeah, that's probably why I won't be participating in this one, but I will be watching and lurking and enjoying it from a distance.
I hope to see something. But all right, well, we'll see you guys. I'm gonna take off the recording by recording.